If President Trump does get funding to build a southern border wall, it's becoming clear that Mexico won't be paying for it, as he promised, at least not anytime soon.
Now, that means your government will be spending your tax dollars on a multi-billion idea that some residents of one border state believe is a waste of money. Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis visited a border town that struggled with a wall of its own.
That's right, Sinead Rush. Eagle Pass, Texas was the first American city sued by the federal government over its refusal to allow a border barrier. That was a decade ago. The city ultimately settled, even though leaders still believe, in Texas at least, a wall just won't work.
Playing in the shadow of Mexico, retirees do their best to keep their tee shots straight and long. The Rio Grande serves as the ultimate water hazard for the Eagle Pass, Texas municipal golf course. But for years, golfers here had to deal with a different distraction playing through: illegal immigrants splashing across the river to live in the United States.
People crossing at the same time, mothers with their babies, and little kids. They would run, sprint about, I don't know, maybe half of the golf course, and then the rest, they will just walk, and they look tired and all that.
In 2010, Eagle Pass dropped its opposition and allowed the federal government to build a fence. Nearly 2 miles long, 14 feet tall, $11 million. The mayor here still can't stand to look at it.
It is a bother. It is ultimately, when we look at that, we see it and we just think to ourselves, this is such a waste of money.
So why does the mayor think a wall is a waste, not just here, but throughout Texas? We took a drive across the International Bridge to Piedras Negras, the sister city of Eagle Pass. We spotted heavily armed soldiers patrolling from the back of a pickup truck. The Border Patrol tells us drug cartels control all smuggling routes across the Rio Grande. That's for moving drugs and people. So why not a wall to prevent people here from illegally getting to our country?
It's important to remember that 2/3 of the people in our country illegally originally got there not by foot, but this way, by car or by plane, through a visa that ultimately expired. No wall is going to stop that.
Then there's the river itself. In Texas, the entire Mexican border is the Rio Grande, which can sometimes flood. That means a wall must be built inland, leaving chunks of U.S. territory and the entire river on the Mexico side of the barrier, and sometimes even a 9-hole golf course.
We're on the wrong side of the fence right now.
Right, exactly.
The 2-mile Eagle Pass fence cuts off the city golf course and the city's recreational fields. Gates the city maintains stay open unless there's a national emergency. Border Patrol agents watch those gaps.
You'd be giving it to Mexico, saying, okay, the river's yours.
David Stoller doesn't like the fence much either. He retired from U.S. Customs and plays golf here a lot. He took me for a tour of what he likes to call his new gated country club.
Have you seen people on the golf course since the fence was put up?
Oh, yes.
Trying to cross?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen anybody climb the fence?
No, they just go around it right there. It ends right there.
It does end right there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Here, we'll show the camera there. See, it ends right there.
But others, like golf course manager Martinez, are glad the fence is here, even if the golf course he runs happens to be on the wrong side.
It actually got better, really, because, you don't see as much crossings as you used to.
The Border Patrol insists barriers like this, even small sections, still allow them to concentrate agents in areas where there is no wall. But Texans like Stoller believe walls are better for states with borders that don't include a river. California, Arizona, New Mexico. He'd rather you not waste your wall money on the Lone Star State.
Do you think they wasted $11 million?
$11 million. Is that what they spent for just Eagle Pass?
Yeah.
Well, that's, yes.
He says yes. One border agent told me he's actually seen people climb over that fence. It's only 14 feet high, and he said they got over it in just a matter of seconds.
And it was amazing to see the gaps in that fence where you could just walk right around.
Don't even have to climb it, do you? Just walk right through the gap.
So the mayor there, what would he have preferred that money be spent on instead of the wall?
Yeah, he said $11 million. You could have hired more Border Patrol agents and perhaps beefed up security that way. But in our earlier story from last night, we talked about how they're having a hard time finding more border agents, even to keep the 20 20,000 mark level of their staffing, much less add the extra 5,500 that the president wants. So there's no easy solution there, at least not in Texas. In fact, the fellow we talked to, David Stoller, he kept insisting, I like walls. Walls are smart. Walls are good in Arizona, in New Mexico, in California, where there's a clear border and you can build a wall there.
Right.
He says a wall doesn't make sense when you've got a river that you had to deal with there in Texas.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue, but it does seem a shame to cut the city and cut those communities off from the river itself.
Yeah, you know, the fellow who runs that golf course, he told me that and he thinks that the wall has worked or the fence has worked. He says the only problems he has now is teenagers swimming or running across the river, getting across the river somehow, grabbing his flag in hole number 9 and then running back across the river and laughing. He says, those are pranksters. I can deal with those.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Randy, thanks very much.
Thanks,
A lot to think
Randy.
about.